Hey, good day, our viewers. Welcome to this episode of Business Chronicles, where we get to host some of our friends here at Studio 84 that we know from all different aspects of our lives. Today, Studio 84 is a podcast studio here in Bugolobi, Lithuli Avenue in Kampala, Uganda. And today we have an interesting gentleman whose looks, I'm sure, can be deceiving, because when you get to know him, he's an interesting human being. His name is also an interesting name. I know him as my name is Kenneth Muyunga. The name starts with my name. Ken, you're about to tell us why you are. My name is. Kenneth Muyunga is my name. Please introduce yourself, Ken.
Thank you, Solo. It's an awesome day to be with you here at the studio. And of course, without getting out of control, yes, Ken Muyunga is my name. And of course, Ken is a short name of Kenneth. And yes, I was also born like anyone else.
Ken, where were you born?
Born in Kampala here.
Oh, interesting.
Kiswa Hospital, and I was born to a man I call a soldier. Yes, during the time when the Bush War general was trying to get onto power.
Yeah.
Yes, and during that time, of course, it was chaotic. But I was born in Kampala, but later on thrown, evacuated, evacuated to the west.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got most of my humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And later on, of course, I came back to
The city.
Yes.
Do you call him a soldier because he was in the army, or because of his way of life?
His way of life, even up to now, he lives like a soldier. He groomed us like a soldier.
And here I'm thinking, I think our whole generation were raised by soldiers.
Exactly. but the beauty, I think he could have maybe picked it up from his uncle.
Yeah.
My late grand, who was an ex-Army soldier.
Yeah.
And actually is the one who helped us be evacuated from Kampala during the takeover.
Yeah.
Were thrown on a lorry and taken back in Mbarara.
A Tata lorry.
A Tata lorry.
Ken, I like that you raised that you are raised by a soldier in court.
Yeah.
And I tell you that I think most of our generation were raised like that, and here we are trying to raise our generation alpha babies differently, with, I don't know, in a different way. Do you feel it's a struggle? Because people tend to raise their children the way they were raised, and it takes being deliberate to do it differently.
Yeah. I think, of course, as they say, the apple does not fall very far from
The tree.
the tree. The experience that you have is what actually you will most definitely want to impart.
Yeah.
If most especially if it was a good experience.
Yeah.
But again, we need to kind of marry the current situation with the old, so that now you tend to live in the present as opposed to living in the past. Yes.
Ken, you also, okay, what do you do? I know what you do, but tell the viewers what you do.
Okay. Thank you, Solo. I'm a jack of so many trades, but a master of one. And,
okay.
And that is tax consulting.
Yeah.
I support businesses thrive through the rough waters of taxation.
Yeah.
And that's what I do for a living. And I've done this now for over 10 years.
Wow.
In my private practice, 8 years, and of course elsewhere around 2 years. So almost over and about 10 years. All I've been doing is supporting businesses, individuals, families, manage tax.
Ken, would I be correct to assume that your business concept and model is the classic example of a business that started specifically or primarily to solve a problem?
Exactly.
Not that you saw money in tax consultancy and you went for it.
Nothing at all.
Take us through how you ended in tax consultancy, how you decided there is a problem here, let me help.
Okay. Of course, they say if you don't exist to solve problems, then your business maybe is not a worthwhile business.
Yeah.
So from the onset, of course, having an accounting background, I used to interact much more, of course, with numbers. But again, I saw, even right from the university, at the point when we're doing our research papers and the likes, we tended to interact so much more with the business community, most especially around the Chikubo area. And we were asking ourselves, what support, what kind of impact can we have on the business community?
Yeah.
So in our journey in trying to understand, of course, what business owners were going through, we were frankly told that for us, the way we keep our books, we keep 2-3 separate sets of books of accounts.
Depending on who's asking.
And depending on, of course, literally, of course, in accounting, of course, when you're reporting, you have different stakeholders.
Yeah.
But this specifically, they were looking at reporting different to government and also reporting different to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
So that kept, rang a bell in our mind. We're trying to ask ourselves, why is this done that way? Of course, young and agile, I was trying to understand why is that done. But one vivid reason that came out was about tax management. But again, the so classical cases that we found is that even when they thought that they were managing or keeping 2 separate books of accounts, later on it would be a detriment to them, and they would not. Of course, they were not doing well, and of course, it's understood that you if you're buying, then you're buying from someone, and if you're selling to someone. So there will be still a trail. Whether you're keeping 2 separate books of accounts or 3 or 4, there'll still be a trail. Yeah. So combining the same was actually much more work to them. And with limited knowledge, of course, in accounting, again, things will be unearthed. So the cases we found, the issues we found, the business owners, that's what really pushed me to educate, actually. We first had to educate. Yes. Teach them that actually what you're doing literally is at the end of the day is going to land you into the same circle. Yes. You're going around the same problem, but at the end of the day, you're going to get to the same circle. So that was one scenario. But again, another scenario that was very touching as I was just going through my academics was at the point when I was trying to... I got employed, of course, I applied for a teen and the likes, and one day we were at Crescent Towers, and I found a lady who had applied for a teen to the daughter had bought her car and was trying to transfer transfer the vehicle to her names.
So Crescent Towers is where the teen applications used to happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, and so I landed onto this lady. I was like, what's the challenge? I was like, I've spent here talked about 4 days trying to apply for a teen, and it's all getting rejected, and I'm reapplying. So I'm here today to find out why. I'm like, now, these are simple things. Yes. That actually underrate and say, these are simple things to get someone just move from wherever they are moving to come and just simply check on the teen that's being declined. So when I asked the lady, got chatted, then because I had officials, we had your officials in the contact center down there. So in just trying to understand why it was being rejected, I supported the lady. I support the lady, and the thing gets done just in 30 minutes. Like, now, if these small issues are still affecting the population, then there are bigger challenges
Yes.
that are really might not be seen,
Yeah.
and maybe they are non-investigated.
Yes.
So that's how I got to understand that actually is a big, big problem around tax management, understanding tax, and I also felt maybe it's a kind of phobia people had still around tax, because whenever you mention about the taxman, taxes, someone shies away, and they want to get off to change the conversation. Yeah. So and I thought it wasn't, if I got into treating
Yes.
tax phobia,
Yeah.
that would be maybe something I can also put a block.
So that's the opportunity to see that there is this area in business or in the people out there needs attention.
Yes.
Okay, Ken. So how has the journey been like? When you're saying those things, solved it in 30 minutes and realized, as you're thinking, are you a friend to the taxman, or do they like you? Because I know one of your biggest KPIs is saving the taxpayer money,
Yes.
which means the tax collector is not collecting as much as they had,
Anticipated.
Yes.
To collect.
Do they like you very much?
Very much, because in undertaking the tax education series that I do, or teaching business owners, in one way or the other, they get to understand why they must contribute to the to the basket of this nation. So, excuse me. So in teaching them, then when they appreciate, actually they contribute much more.
Yeah.
So the issues about education, the issues about understanding of reasons as why they are paying, and where does the payment come from. So if you say, do they hate me? Actually, they like me, because on a regular basis, on a daily, on a monthly basis, I support the government to collect much more money as they would have collected, because I'm in constant contact with the business owners, trying to tell them the reason as to why they need to pay. And of course, if you say they would have collected much more, they should have collected much more. But again, what's the underlying issue here is collecting it legally.
Yeah. And fairly.
The fair share of the government being paid by businesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I like that. You mentioned something about the tax education series. I know you have something cooking. Maybe you want to tease our listeners and viewers. Tell us, you have a project you're working on to take on this tax education series with the support of Studio 84. What are you cooking, Ken, and why?
With, of course, tax education cuts across. I was just looking at the family that we're into, the East African community, and again, maybe language barrier. From maybe if you don't understand Kiswahili, you're not maybe able to trade ably in the East African region, or you not trade with ease. So now when you come to, of course, Uganda, you see that actually most of the language being traded in or being used to do tax education is English. So like, okay, are all business people English speakers? And truth be told, the guys that are loaded and have the money, they just want to know that this idea is working for me. This is how I'm getting my money. That's it. They don't want to know your
English.
So from that, and of course, the government has really tried to educate the masses in different languages.
Yeah.
And the publications, of course, they could be there, but they are limited, especially in terms of circulation. And the language here I want to really focus on is Runyashitara. Yeah, because I know with the regime changes and the likes, people have got money, and people are investing. Yeah, and there are massive businesses in the Western region.
Yeah.
And the business owners, I want to teach them. I want to show them how ably they can really
Navigate this whole
navigate through, yes,
tax-paying
yeah,
processes. Oh,
processes.
that's a brilliant idea, Ken.
And strictly going to be non-English, but Runyashtara, because I believe, of course, many tend to think that my name, Muyunga, is much more, it's leaning
the central region
the central region of the
yeah.
country, but
Ken, I actually hear
but
you.
Runyashtara is one of the languages that really I speak fluently.
It's a very good concept,
Yes.
Ken. I can't say I've had anyone take it on the way you intend to take it on.
Yes.
And you say it's going to be strictly in Runyashtar. From the greeting, the opening.
Exactly.
Or are you going to be like some of our old teachers who taught us English in Runyankole? The teacher walks in class and is speaking Runyankole but teaching you English in Runyankole.
Yes. So of course the series are going to be in Runyankole, and of course much more of the content available is in English.
Yeah.
Our legal, our tax laws are in English. Most of the work is done in English. The accounting is done in English. So I want now to demystify that notion, and I want us to really dissect this subject called tax.
And I'm thinking with the mass of experience that you have, a good place to start. You have the frequently asked questions.
Yes.
So you could start from there and try to teach people in the west of the country how to navigate this tax thing. Ken, you also mentioned that you're passionate about our culture.
Yes.
Ken, you're a young man. You were married just the other day. I was there. People your age are typically not passionate about culture.
Yes.
What's wrong with you?
I'm of course it's about the roots. I've seen that if you don't have a foundation, then the rest of the things are built on nothing.
Yeah. Try to adjust this.
Yes, they are built on nothing.
Yeah.
And by identity, by identity, if your name is Solo,
Yeah.
where does that come from? If it is Solo, then why we added into another name called Tumwesije? that has always been my thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Mean that they are trying to create an identity around you.
Yeah.
So where does that come from? It's a culture. It comes from culture, deep rooted into culture. So and now the way things are moving, the way the world is moving, glad that you talking about Gen Zs. Have they lost? Yeah, have they lost their culture? Have they lost identity? Yeah, so I'm trying to create an identity. I'm trying to restore identity. Yeah, and nothing much. I'm just going to look through what used to happen, how it used to happen, why did it happen that way, and what are the changes now, and we'll try to now marry the two, and we have a better living.
I'll tell you this, Ken. This is a conversation I've had with some friends, and there are many schools of thought. Some people will ask you, why do you feel that is important? For example, speaking for a friend, someone once said, Solomon, my children, do you really think they'll ever go back and settle in? I'll not mention the village, because if you mention the village, you'll know who it is. He knows himself. He's like, my children will never go back to settle where I was born. Even I don't think I'll ever go back to settle there. So Ken, if you are trying to teach people their culture and their roots and things like that, someone will argue that of what importance is it to them? They are studying in an international school, let's say. The moment they are shipped off for college and university, they'll most likely not come back, not after many years. That's where they will work. most likely their lives are going to be there. Why is it important?
I always ask myself, especially around tourism, where tourists would just move from one part of the world and go to the other part of the world to look at what happened there. Yeah. So why would you, for instance, just move from here, let's say go to Paris, just simply look at that monument? History. Yeah. So there's a history attached to it. There's cultural connotations attached to them. Why would you not stay where you are? Yeah. So I see as these are the facts, historical facts that cannot be erased. And the head of state always, whenever is giving those long speeches, he will tell you in 1981.
86.
He's trying to build a background. He's trying to show you the foundation where things happen. That even when you're not going to go back to those roots, where are you at now? Yeah?
Has a
Can you be
foundation.
traced?
Yes.
Do you have roots?
Yeah.
Yeah? So whether you a leaf on the tree, there is a root somewhere pulling water to support you exist up there as a leaf.
You're not getting your greenness
Just
from
simply
just the
because
branch or
it's
whatever
the
it
environment that
Yes.
is, you get it?
Yeah.
There's that root. And that root is equally important as the state or the stage or the state you are at right now. So if that is cut, then actually you can even lose what you have right now.
Makes sense.
That's
Ken.
my belief.
Makes sense because your tree analogy makes a lot of sense, because the leaf on the tree may easily think that it's being fed by the branch, which branch thinks it's being fed by the tree trunk, but every single one of those parts of the tree is being fed by the roots down.
Exactly.
The moment the roots are not feeding on water or whatever nutrients the tree needs,
Exactly.
the tree dies.
I tried to ask myself, when I was growing up, I actually used to challenge my parents, why did you name me this way? Okay? What does Kenneth mean? Okay? What does Muyunga mean? And where did you draw this inspiration from? And as of course, at the time, they will tell you your name just comes from the late president
Kenneth Kaunda.
Kenneth Kaunda. And even when I was introducing myself, I would just say I'm Kenneth Kaunda, the president. Yeah?
Yes.
No wonder I've held presidential roles. And glad that you should be proud that you're interviewing the president.
Presidential roles are following you from the names.
Exactly. So that's why you see that those roots are very, very important.
I know, sir. You know a young man who is named Robert Mugabe.
Exactly. And it's an inspiration.
Yeah,
Yeah?
makes sense.
It's foundational. And actually, it's intentional. Our parents were intentional. Yeah? Leave alone, of course, the names. Sometimes the cultural names tend to...
Some of those foundations are not the foundations
But
we want.
now you're at a point, because now you in two different generations, you're at a point of questioning everything, the way it was happening, why it's happening this way, then you try to relate. And there, actually, you are much more informed to go forward, yeah, and also think for the next generation, yeah, so that it's not ending actually at you alone, yeah. You can. I'm just imagining that after Generation Z, there will be what generation?
Generation Alpha.
Generation Alpha. But even there will be another generation after Alpha.
Of course, there will be.
Yeah. So, but there is Z first, then there will be Alpha next, and the other ones will come next.
Wow.
So there's a foundation.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you.
It was very good to have you here. We definitely look forward to your 2 series coming up, the culture series and the taxation series in vernacular. our brothers and sisters in the West are in for a treat.
Thank you.
Brothers and sisters in the West are in for a treat. Ken, thank you for visiting us here at Studio 84. We look forward to hosting you another time. And God bless, unless there is something else you wanted to close our listeners on with, a parting shot of sorts. Oh, I have to ask you, Ken, what inspires you? Is there like a life-changing book you have read? Is there a movie? What really inspires you, a person, apart from Kenneth Kaunda?
Of course, so many inspirations that I draw, but I always read things not from the surface.
Yeah.
I always tend to go deeper, try to understand.
Yeah, deep guy.
Exactly why things are happening the way they're happening, and from that, environments actually inspire me.
Yeah.
I will tell you from the roller escapades who were thrown back to the village during the war times when the YKMT was taking over, and were just simply thrown to the deep end, and I just found myself into cattle keeping at the time, even when before I had gone to go through education. Humble beginnings. Yeah, humble beginnings that once a small thing cannot spread, become a big thing. Yeah, and when I look at the environment, and I look at also how God is able to touch different beings in differently,
Yeah.
that really humbles me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
So there's nothing like to attach like a book or something. Yeah, but the environment, that's people and the things in it there.
and belief, of course.
Yes.
There's Isaiah, I think 60:22 talks about a small one shall become 1,000.
1,000, yes.
And a little one shall become a strong nation. The Lord shall hasten it in its own time. When you said how you come from a small thing, humble beginnings, boy born in the city, instability that you have no control over, throws life around, sends you back to the village.
Yes.
And now, many years later, from a city boy to a cattle keeper, just to make life go on.
Yeah.
And then many years later, you find yourself back in the city. It's a humbling journey.
Sure.
And only a supernatural power above you can guide you along the way to that.
Yeah, and to that, of course, every day, just one thing that when I wake up or in whatever that I do, I simply ask for wisdom, like Solomon did.
Yeah. When all is said and done.
When all is said and done, you need wisdom to keep afloat.
Yeah.
In whatever circumstances you're in at,
Yes.
it's wisdom that will see you through. And when God answers that, then nothing.
Sorted. Nothing will stop you.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ken. Dear viewers, we'll have some interesting human being here on Business Chronicles. I believe the next guest will be a lady. You want to look out for that one. Ken, it was very good to have you once again, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome.